You know, Alex, I was looking at this little scrap of basswood this morning, and it occurred to me that wood carving is essentially the only hobby where you pay money for a block of material just so you can spend 4 hours turning half of it into floor sweepings.
That is a very expensive way to keep your shop vacuum busy, Tiger. But seriously, whenever people see your carvings, they assume you were born with a gouge in your hand. But you didn't actually start with the fine art stuff, did you?
Not even close. I actually avoided it for years because I was intimidated by the sheer volume of steel involved. I mean, look at a carving catalog. You've got sweep numbers, fishtails, spoon gouges, V-tools. It looks like a dental clinic for giants. I didn't actually dive in until about 8 years ago. Before that, I just talked a big game while selling the tools to other people.
So you were a closeted carver?
Pretty much. I spent all this time talking to master carvers, hearing their secrets, but I was too chicken to actually put steel to grain. But there was one piece of advice that finally pushed me over the edge. A carver told me that a beginner with a sharp $20 knife will have a better time than a pro with a dull $200 chisel.
Well, that's a relief for the budget, but sharp is a scary word for someone who still has all 10 fingers and would like to keep them that way. If I'm looking at a blank block of wood, where do I even start? Is there a hello world of wood carving?
The hello world is usually whittling. It's the most accessible gateway drug we have. You take a piece of wood and a knife and you just subtract. But quickly you realize there's a hierarchy. You've got whittling, which is mostly just you, a knife, and a porch swing. Then you've got relief carving. That's like making a 2D picture pop out of a flat board.
Like the fancy doors in old European cathedrals?
Exactly. And then there's the big leagues, carving in the round. That's your 3D sculptures, your bears holding fish, your smaller bears, mostly bears for some reason. But for a beginner, I always suggest starting with what I call the comfort bird or a simple spoon. It teaches you the most important lesson, grain direction.
Okay, let's talk about the grain. Because every time I try to whittle a stick, it either peels off perfectly or the knife dives into the wood like it's trying to find oil.
That's the wood telling you you're being a bully. Think of wood grain like the hair on a dog's back. If you pet the dog from head to tail, it's smooth. If you go tail to head, you're ruffling fur and getting bitten. When your knife dives in and starts tearing chunks out, you're carving into the grain. You've got to flip the piece around or change your angle. It's a conversation between you and the fibers.
A conversation where the wood speaks in splinters. Got it. So, if I'm ready to stop petting the dog and start carving it, what's the starter pack that isn't going to require a second mortgage?
You don't need the 120-piece master set. Honestly, that just leads to analysis paralysis. If you're starting out, a solid 12-piece foundation set is the Goldilocks zone. But at the very minimum, you want a good bench knife, something with a blade about 1.5 inches long. Too long and you lose control. Too short and you're just scratching.
And the curved ones? Those look like they belongs in a pirate movie.
Those are gouges. If the knife is your pencil, the gouge is your paintbrush. You'll want a numbered 11 veiner. That's a deep U-shaped tool for fine lines, and maybe a V-parting tool for sharp details. But here's the thing people miss. Protection. I don't care how much master craftsman energy you think you have, buy a carving glove.
Is this where you tell me about the time you didn't wear one?
Let's just say I once tried to carve a cherry wood bowl while watching a suspenseful movie. The movie jumped, I jumped, and the gouge decided it wanted to explore the anatomy of my left thumb. I didn't finish the bowl, but I did get a very intimate tour of the local urgent care.
Point taken. Glove on. Now, wood choice. Can I just go grab a 2x4 from the big box store and start carving my masterpiece?
You could, but you'd hate yourself by mile 10. Construction lumber is usually pine or fir. It's pitchy. It's got sap that gums up your tools, and the grain goes from soft to hard and back again faster than a heartbeat. For your first go, find some basswood.
Basswood. Why that specifically?
It's the cheating heart of wood. It's soft, the grain is incredibly tight and predictable, and it doesn't have a lot of figure to distract the eye. It lets you focus on your technique rather than fighting the material. But if you want a challenge later, move to butternut. It's like carving chocolate.
Carving chocolate sounds much more my speed. Okay, so I've got my basswood, my sharp knife, and my thumb-saving glove. What's the first move? Do I just start hacking?
First move is a pencil. Don't trust your brain to remember where the nose goes. Draw your profile on the wood. Then, walk the tool around the outline. This is called grounding or blocking out. You're establishing the boundaries.
It's like a sandbox. Stay inside the lines.
Exactly. And the magic happens in thin layers. Beginners always try to take off 1 inch of wood in one go. That's how you break tools and spirits. You want to take whisper shavings. If it sounds like a crisp autumn leaf crunching, you're doing it right. If you're grunting and your face is turning red, stop. Either your tool is dull or you're trying to be a chainsaw.
Speaking of dull, how do I know when it's time to stop and sharpen? Because I feel like I just keep going until I'm basically trying to carve with a spoon.
Look at the wood after the cut. If the surface looks shiny and smooth, your blade is keen. If the cut looks white or fuzzy, like it's been sanded with a rock, that's the blade crushing the fibers instead of slicing them. That's your signal to hit the strop.
The strop. That's the leather board, right? Like an old-timey barber?
Identical, a little polishing compound on a piece of leather. It's not even about sharpening in the traditional sense, it's about honing. You're just straightening the microscopic edge of the steel. I strop every 15 minutes or so. It's a rhythmic thing. Carve, carve, carve. Stroke the leather back to the wood.
It sounds almost meditative.
It really is. In a world where everything is a digital notification or a screen glow, there's something primal about the smell of shavings and the physical resistance of the wood. It forces you to slow down. You can't control Z a wood carving. You have to live with every stroke.
That sounds terrifyingly permanent for someone as indecisive as me.
That's the beauty of it. It teaches you that mistakes are just design opportunities. You were carving a bird and the beak snapped off. Congratulations. You're now carving a very round, very cute owl.
I think I could handle a round owl. So for the folks listening who are staring at a blank piece of wood right now, what's the one thing they should keep in mind as they take that first sliver off?
Don't chase perfection in the first 5 minutes. Your first carving is going to look like a potato with eyes. That's okay. The goal isn't the object on the table. The goal is the skill in your hands. Every shaving you drop on the floor is a little bit of knowledge you've gained. Just keep the steel sharp and the grain in mind.
Well, I'm off to go buy a glove and some chocolate wood.
Good luck. And remember, if the wood starts talking back to you, it's probably time to take a break and sharpen your knife.
Thanks, Tiger. This was actually surprisingly encouraging.
Anytime. Now help me sweep up this tuition I left on the floor.